Functional theories of grammar are those approaches to the study of language that see functionality of language and its elements to be the key to understanding linguistic processes and structures. Functional theories of language propose that since language is fundamentally a tool, it is reasonable to assume that its structures are best analyzed and understood with reference to the functions they carry out. Functional theories of grammar differ from structural linguistics or formalist language theories, in that the latter approaches seek to define the different elements of language and describe the way they relate to each other only as systems of formal rules or operations, whereas the former additionally takes into account the context where linguistic elements are used, and studies the way they are instrumentally useful or functional in the given environment. This means that functional theories of grammar tend to pay attention to the way language is actually used in communicative context. The formal relations between linguistic elements are assumed to be functionally motivated frameworks. There are several distinct grammatical frameworks that employ a functional approach. The structuralist functionalism of the Prague School was the earliest functionalist framework, developed in the 1920s. André Martinet's Functional Syntax, with two major books, A Functional View of Language, 1962, and Studies in Functional Syntax, 1975. Martinet is one of the most famous French linguists and can be regarded as the father of French functionalism. Simon Dick's functional grammar, originally developed in the 1970s and 80s, has been influential and inspired many other functional theories. It has been developed into functional discourse grammar by the linguist Kees Hegneveld. Michael Halliday's systemic functional grammar argues that the explanation of how language works needed to be grounded in a functional analysis, since language had evolved in the process of carrying out certain critical functions as human beings interacted with their eco-social environment. Halliday draws on the work of Bühler and Malinowski. The link between Furthian linguistics and Alfred North Whitehead also deserves a mention. Role and reference grammar, developed by Robert Van Valen, employs functional analytical framework with a somewhat formal mode of description. In RRG, the description of a sentence in a particular language is formulated in terms of its semantic structure and communicative functions, as well as the grammatical procedures used to express these meanings. Danish functional grammar combines Saussurian, Hjelmslevian structuralism with a focus on pragmatics and discourse. Dick characterizes the functional approach as follows. In the functional paradigm, a language is in the first place conceptualized as an instrument of social interaction among human beings, used with the intention of establishing communicative relationships. Within this paradigm, one attempts to reveal the instrumentality of language with respect to what people do and achieve with it in social interaction. A natural language, in other words, is seen as an integrated part of the communicative competence of the natural language user. 2. p. 3. Because of its emphasis on usage, communicative function, and the social context of language, functional grammar differs significantly from other linguistic theories which stress purely formal approaches to grammar, notably Chomskyan generative grammar. Functional grammar makes much use of corpus linguistics and linguistic typology to provide material grammatical functions. Functions exist on all levels of grammar, and even in phonology, where the function of the phoneme is to distinguish between lexical material, semantic function, agent, patient, recipient, etc., describing the role of participants in states of affairs or actions expressed. Syntactic functions, e.g., subject and object, defining different perspectives in the presentation of a linguistic expression. Pragmatic functions. Theme and reme. Topic and focus. Predicate. Defining the informational status of constituents, determined by the pragmatic context of the verbal interaction. See also. Functional grammar. Disambiguation. Origin of language. Origin of speech.